You're listening to KPFT, Houston, Texas. We are 90.1 on the dial. If you're listening down in Galveston, pick us up at 89.5. Our friends up in the piney woods of East Texas, 91.9. It is time for Songwriter Studio. I'm your host, Tom Tranchilla, along with Lloyd Daniel in the booth, spinning the knobs and doing what he does every week. Thanks, Lloyd, for everything you do and the use of the Songwriter Studios. It is our pleasure to bring on board Songwriter Studio this afternoon, Mr. Nathan Bell. How you doing, Nathan?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thanks a lot for joining us on Songwriter Studio. We've got 58 minutes to chew the fat and talk about this great new album of yours, Red, White, and American Blues. In parentheses, it couldn't happen here. Tell us a little bit about this project, Nathan.
Well, it's a one that took a while to get going, and honestly, we recorded most of it right before in 2019. So its release date kept getting moved by the effects of the pandemic, but it was obviously recorded well into the events that have led us to where we are today. The project was Brian Brinkerhoff's idea. He had called me maybe a year before and said, do you have enough songs to do a record? And we actually ended up doing 23 songs in the session. So it ended up being 2 records and a vinyl single. This just happens to be the CD of that project. So I'm a one-man band in the sense of writing and putting things together. So it's unusual for me to come into the studio with a group of musicians, but it turned out into a very interesting record.
You play most of the instruments on here, the acoustic guitar, baritone guitar, do the vocals, harmonica, and also you brought in Alvino Bennett doing drums.
Alvino Bennett, his name's Alvino Bennett. He plays drums and percussion with Dave Mason. That's played with Stevie Wonder and quite a few people across the spectrum. Frank Swart played a lot of the electric stuff. Almost all the electric stuff is Frank Swart. John Dedrick, who's a Nashville cat, was the keyboards, and then of course we threw a few extra guest vocalists on there. I did most of the acoustic stuff and all the harp and things like that.
Nathan, we have way too many songs on this new record to get on the air during this show. We've got a lot to talk about, but we're going to start the show off with track number 2, American Gun, and this features one of my favorites, Miss Patty Griffin, who not only sings on this song, but numerous songs throughout the project. You were telling me before the show starts how she was agreed to play on the record. Why don't you tell the story, how you brought her into the project?
Well, when we got done with the record, I had her voice in mind. She's one of my favorite songwriters. And, of course, she's a magnificent singer. And I had her voice in mind for harmonies on a couple things. And I asked Frank, who has a connection with her from working with her in the past, if there was any possibility she'd sing on the record. And he didn't say yay or nay, so I just forgot about it, to be honest with you. And he had asked me who I wanted for a couple other things, and I brought up, of course, Regina McCrary. And then the last story is for a song you can't play on the air that Aubrey Sellers came on and sang on. But I was sitting around the house one day, I got a message from Brian that Patty had agreed to sing on the record, and it turned out she was going to do 3 songs. And as I understand it, the songs were just sent to her, and she picked what she wanted to sing on. So let's put it this way. It was the easiest way things could have happened and kind of wonderful.
Let's start this show outright with American Gun featuring Patty Griffin on harmony vocals. This is Nathan Bell.
La 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 la. I'm a red, white, and blue American gun. Johnny come marching in your native sun. Wherever you go, they'll know where you're from. I'll stamp your passport, the American gun. I'm the kickback from the American gun. I'm starting something, I'm getting things done. I'm the very first word in the story to come. I'm literary, the American gun. And I got one job, and I do it well. La 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 la. I'm a 44 Magnum, American gun. Your lizard brain, I screw everyone. The credits roll and the reckoning comes. I'm cinematic, the American gun. And I got one job, and I do it well. La 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 la. I'm a silencer, the American gun. I let you stay quiet, I let you play dumb. But I'm the answer on the tip of your tongue. Occam's razor, the American gun. And I got one job, and I do it well. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Nathan Bell, brand new music, the album Red, White, and American Blues, the name of that track, American Gun, with haunting background harmonies, Patty Griffin. Great job. The keyboards on this, Nathan, John Diederich, is that how you pronounce his name?
I think it's Dedrick.
Dedrick, excellent piano work. I mean, he filled just perfect. The finger picking was excellent, too. Is that your finger picking on that particular track?
Yeah.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the documentary. There's a short documentary that was put together for you touring Scotland, Wales, and England. Tell the listening audience a little bit about this.
Well, I worked with a director named John Dower, who's in London. I did soundtrack work for one of his short films, and we became friends. And at one point, I said to him, John, you ought to come along with a camera and record this thing and see what it looks like. And he decided to do it and engage some of the people around him to help out. And so I had a camera with me for I think 5 or 6 of a 9-show tour, and it was interesting. It's you watching yourself is always a confusing thing at best. But what struck me about the film when we finally got to the point where he was putting the movie together was that how unremarkable so much of it is. I know that sounds like I'm damning myself almost, but I'm kind of a workaday musician, and there's not a lot of drama around me, and I tour on my own. I don't really have anybody with me. So it's sort of just watching a guy drive a car and play shows.
So those are some of the best documentaries.
There's some great scenery, man. There's some great scenery.
I want to get to a little bit of the other cities you've toured across the pond. But before we do that, I want to jump into the next track we've got queued up, this particular track, American Blues. This has got some excellent poetry and great lead guitar work, by the way.
That would be the lead. Oh, that's me. Yeah. I couldn't remember for a minute. But yeah, that's me on the acoustic stuff. Thank you.
Go ahead and let the listening audience know a little bit about this song.
This song is, I was a big Gil Scott-Heron fan as a kid. And one of the things that happens when you're like, grow up in the Midwest, I grew up in Iowa, is that place is everything. And I was lucky enough to grow up near the University of Iowa with a father who's a poet. So I was exposed to all sorts of stuff. And when I was 10 years old, we ended up dropped down in San Francisco in the middle of everything in 1970 that was going on, and spent a year in California. And so when I had a thing for the whole West Coast pop rock poetry scene. And, Gil Scott was as good as it gets. And the stuff that he and Brian Jackson did together is just amazing. And I can't do that. I can't sound like Gil. And it would be an act of a real insulting act for me to try to pretend to be a black cat from Oakland, So I did my own version of it. So this is my version of what Gil Scott-Heron would have done if he was a white kid from Iowa.
No, I enjoyed the very, very clever, very, very poetic lyrics. I love the lyrics in this song. And like I said, the guitar work is stellar. Let's listen to this track. Brand new music, Nathan Bell, the name of the album, Red, White, and American Blues. This is American Blues.
A monk lights himself on fire in Vietnam. I'm watching our first black and white television. A monk burns himself to death in Vietnam, and I get the American blues. A man shoots another man for walking down the street. As a black man in broad daylight, you can shoot a black man for just walking down the street when you have the American blues. The governor watches midnight come and go. A man's wage is to poison another man, so the governor can wash her hands clean of the American blues. Lights go out in Alabama and everybody waits in the dark. They don't teach the numbers, so they have nothing to count on. The lights go out in Alabama and women are shackled to the American blues. The men without sons and daughters call themselves fathers. The church rapes the children it is paid to educate. Not a day goes by in this country that I'm not a father with the American blues. Men learn an honest trade from the war machine. Then they waste away in the backwoods and prison cells. They weigh less than a few thoughts and prayers when they die underneath the American blues. Tribe freezes themselves to the bulldozers. My car starts every morning in the dead of winter. There are people chained to machines everywhere with the American blues. Somebody built a fountain named it the Trail of Tears. Children laugh and run through the water in the sweltering heat. None of us have the heart to tell them the original story of the American blues. We are taking our lives one day at a time, with bullets and useless poetry. Soon we will be burning together in red, white, and American blues. Burn, baby, burn. Burn, baby, burn.
American Blues, brand new music, Nathan Bell, the name of the new album, Red, White, and American Blues. Great song. Nathan, you had the Wes Montgomery thing going there for a minute, didn't you?
Actually, the Wes Montgomery thing is Frank Swart.
Yeah.
The electric is Frank all the way. And yeah, he gets the octave thing happening and the fifths and everything. Yeah.
Very good. And the acoustic, those lead licks you were throwing in there on the acoustic were stellar.
Thanks, man.
Let's talk a little bit about your European. You've been over there numerous times touring. I know that we had talked before the show. Why don't you let the listening audience know a little bit about your European tours and some of the cities you hit?
Well, I take tradition of American songwriters going over there when they have virtually no career in the United States very seriously. So, it's like following in good footsteps. In 2015, when I'd made a conscious decision not to tour in the U.S. at all, I all of a sudden found myself with somebody in the Netherlands who wanted to book me over there. And honestly, I had a little trepidation about it and came over and played. And one thing led to another. And pretty soon I was also playing in the U.K. and playing all over anywhere they could put me in Europe, basically. And yeah, I've done Amsterdam and played in Frankfurt. I play in Glasgow. I play in London. I play in out in the corner of Wales in Pembroke Dock. I play in Aberdeen and Edinburgh. So Leicester, places like that. So it's there's a long, rich tradition in the UK especially, but also in the Netherlands of taking very seriously songs and songwriters. And so it suited me well being as lyrically based as I am. I like to say that it's interesting and kind of funny that country, the first language isn't English, was the country that got me back on the road and touring as a lyrical songwriter. But the Dutch speak better English than most Americans, so it worked out great.
You kind of took the steam out of my next question. The English songwriters, apparently there isn't much of a communication issue. I noticed you playing in Germany as well. Their English is very well read over there, and it's not an issue.
Not at all, but I will tell you the Dutch reviews, which are virtually untranslatable, and I have quite a few of them, come up with some of the very best sort of mistranslations, because even the Dutch people tell me it's really hard to translate these Dutch phrases into English. And so if you toss them into a translator, you get things like, I'd for years called myself a guitar schwangler because that was one of my Dutch reviews. It says I was a guitar schwangler. Well, you can't make that up. And one of the Dutch reviewers said that I caused his pants to light on fire. You can't beat that. And then the last thing was, and my old manager used to say that he liked that they called me the king of Sing Song Mountain.
We've got the next track queued up and ready to go here. Nathan, Retread Cadillac. Of course, this is a nod to Lightnin' Hopkins, good old Texas boy from right around here in the Houston area. Tell the listening audience a little bit about this. And you brought in the great Regina McCrary for this track.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
That's, I have to do the Wayne's World thing of I am not worthy when it comes to that, because I may be worthy, but geez, it's pretty hard to do better than Regina McCrary. It really is. And it's just astonishing. And it's interesting. This song, Lightning was a big influence on me. I was popping along as kind of a Jimi Hendrix guy, and then stumbled my way into Merle Haggard and Lightning Hopkins, and that changed everything. When I was young, very young, and I used to sit and play in this place called the Sanctuary in Iowa City. I think it was every other Tuesday night when I was 16, 17, and I would just sit and play blues and cop off what I could of Lightning Hopkins and screw it up enough that it would end up sounding like my own. So I have great love for Lightning, and there's a very blues record kind of mistake in here. I kind of mumbled Dowling Street, so it kind of sounds like Downing Street. And I did get an email from a blues aficionado who said, no, it's not Downing Street, it's Dowling Street in Houston. But the great blues records are full of mistakes and missteps. So I consider it my contribution to the form.
That's terrific. Before we play this next track, we'd like to remind the listening audience we in our spring fund drive right now, and we are begging you to call this number And send some money our way to Songwriter Studio and KPFT. We have been on the air 52 years. Songwriter Studio has been on the air for 15 years, and we'd like to be on for another 15. We've got all kinds of gifts available. For the $150 level, we've got the best of spare change. Of course, the late, great Larry Winters, shows from his past. For the $90 level, you get studio sessions, KPFT's 3D set. We've got 57 total in-studio interviews and performances. For the $150 level, we have the KPFT Picker Poets Society 1985 3-CD set on a thumb drive. This features Guy Clark, Towns Van Zandt, Jerry Jeff Walker, Mickey Newberry, K.T. Osland, Rodney Crowell, and many others. And last but not least, for the $240 level, you can get our Juneteenth Blues Festival. This is a 10-CD set on a thumb drive, recorded live. Clifton Chenier, Johnny Copeland, Robert Cray, Albert Collins, and many more. So please pick up that phone, dial 713-526-5738, or go to kpft.org. Hit that tip jar button and make sure that money comes to Songwriter Studio. Back to our guest, Nathan Bell. We're about to spin Retread Cadillac. This is a nod to Lightnin' Hopkins off the brand new album, Red, White, and American Blues.
Sam Hopkins come to Houston in a retread Cadillac. Said I did my time on the prison farm. I'm never going back. He walked all over Downing Street with his guitar and his gun. Said one is good for business, the other's just for fun. You got to get down, get back up again. Got to get down, get back up again. Well, everywhere he went, in his alligator boots. Black man did the time, and the white man stole the blues. So he changed his name to Lightning, traveled all across the land, and he never played a note without the money in his hand. You got to get down, get back up again, yeah. You got to get down, get back up again, yeah, yeah. You got to get down, get back up again, Got to get down, yeah. Get back up again.
Oh, Lord. Hey, Lord.
Well, the last time I saw lightning was 1975. Had a woman on each arm,
Yes, he did.
and a bone handle knife. Well, liquor in the bottle, Johnny Walker out the back. Still, a man can look real good in a retread Cadillac. You got to get down,
Gotta get down.
get back up again.
Back up again.
You got to get down,
down.
get back up again.
Yeah.
You got to get
Gotta
down,
get down.
get back up,
Back up again. Back up again.
down,
I gotta get down.
get back up again.
Hey.
Got to get down,
Gotta get down.
got to get down,
Gotta get down.
get back up
I
again.
gotta get down. Yeah.
You got to get
Back up
down.
again. Back up again. Back up again. Back up again. Gotta get down. Gotta get down to get back up
Got to get down to
again.
get back up again.
Back up again. again. Gotta get down, gotta get down, 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 down.
Nathan Bell, brand new music, Retread Cadillac. Nathan's nod to late, great Lightnin' Hopkins, featuring Regina McCrary on vocals. Just a dynamite track, Nathan. And, you know, this is stripped down and it doesn't need anything. It's good just like it is.
That's nice to hear. Thanks.
Acoustic guitar, a couple great vocals, and just real smooth. My compliments. Let's talk about the next track we've got queued up, A Lucky Man, again featuring Patty Griffin. Let the listening audience know a little something about this track.
Well, it accidentally became a bit of a posthumous tribute to my father because he was written before he passed away, but passed away before the album came out. He got to hear it, but I don't think he realized it was his thing. I've always been, I like to say I'm the luckiest boy on earth, and I really have been. And when you write the kind of lyrics I write, which are often fairly pointed and sometimes darker than an Irish tune, people make the mistake of thinking that in some way you're unhappy. So this song it's just kind of a commentary that, great misery is part of being lucky and happy and knowing that it won't last forever and that the people you love won't be there forever. And the best you can hope for is to when the time comes, realize that the life you've lived has been full of love and whatever it is that made you happy. So that's the song.
Let's listen to this track right now, A Lucky Man, Nathan Bell's nod to his pop, featuring Patty Griffin.
I should be a ghost on a road in Wales. The wind came hard as coffin nails. But it doesn't take much to tip the scales, and you're a lucky man. I'm on a plane from Amsterdam to Aberdeen. Sky's bigger than any sky I've ever seen. Well, I don't know much, but I know what that means. I'm a lucky man. Pocket full of dreams, but I tossed them all. And a few good friends until I lost them all. I wish they were still here so I could tell them all that I'm a lucky man. My dogs had never lived long enough. Can't save everyone when times get rough. So I hold on with both hands a little too much, 'cause I'm a lucky man. God damn, I'm a lucky man. Standing in the corner, waiting for the bell to ring. Tell myself I'm not afraid of anything, 'cause I'm a dead man standing with a song to sing, and I'm a lucky man. Outside this door there's work to do, and obligations to see to. Should I die for love, and I hope I do, I'll be a lucky man. God damn, I'm a lucky man. I'm a lucky man. God damn, I'm a lucky man.
A Lucky Man, brand new music, Nathan Bell, Red, White, and American Blues, the name of the new album. We were talking, Nathan, before the show, how many albums do you have out? You said you had no idea, somewhere between 8 and 9.
I guess if you count the couple of albums that were out in the 80s when I was part of a duo called Bell and Shore, I think I'm probably in double figures, I think.
Well, of course they count. Well, I'll tell you what, that song is so haunting. It's almost hypnotic. The groove you've got going with the guitars and then Patty coming in with the harmonies. It's just a stellar track.
I appreciate it. You've got to give Alvino Bennett, the drummer, credit on that, too, because Alvino can really play funky and he can really play loud, but he's got that thing that not a lot of guys have, which is drummers that know how to stay out of the way of the vocals and the lyrics without losing the guts of the beat. That's a very rare thing to find. And Alvino's just he's a master. If someone gave me a real touring budget in the United States and I could take a drummer, I would be standing on his doorway begging.
You know, I had mentioned the groove. That's what it's all about in this song. He keeps the groove where it needs to be in that slow tempo, that pace that keeps the groove moving and keeps it almost hypnotic. I agree. That's the drum is everything in this song, or a very large contributor.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next track we've got queued up here, When You're Dead. Before we do that, I do want to urge the listeners, we are in Fund Drive. If you like what we do here week after week on Songwriter Studio every Sunday afternoon, been coming to you for 15 years. We bring artists just like Nathan Bell that don't typically get the airplay on the commercial radio stations, but have a home here at KPFT and have had a home here on KPFT for 52 years. Please pick up that phone, dial 713-526-5738. Or go to kpft.org, hit that tip jar, and please make sure that money comes to Songwriter Studio. Give what you can. Costs us about $150 an hour to operate this radio station. Most of the programmers and many of the volunteers here get paid nothing. We're all in it because we love the music. Our engineer here, Lloyd Daniel, comes in here. We go to his studio week after week. He doesn't charge us a penny. All the proceeds we collect go to keep us on the air, to operate, to pay for the transmitters that are bringing you this music week after week, 24/7, 365 days a year. So all we ask is a couple times a year we come to you and ask you to donate what you can, whether it be $10, $100, $300, $1 a day. We'll take whatever you have. One more time, that number is 713-526-5738. Nathan Bell's our guest on Songwriter Studio. We are premiering songs off the new record, Red, White, and American Blues. What a great album this is. You're all over the map too, Nathan. You're playing electric, you're playing acoustic, your tempos are changing every track. It's just a real refreshing listen. Let's talk about the next song, When You're Dead. Give the folks a little heads up on this track.
I've got a friend, he's a poet, teaches at Middle Tennessee State University, and his name's Gaylord Brewer, and he had a character that struck me, a guy named Ghost, who inhabits this world and the next. Ironically, my father did a whole series of poems called the Dead Man Poems. My father's name is Marvin Bell, by the way. So this is just kind of coincidental that I wrote this song, and my father also had this Book of the Dead Man thing that he did. And Gaylord's character, Ghost, is just sort of wanders through the world the way I imagine most people would wander through the world. I started thinking about if you really didn't have anything to lose, if you were dead already, there were benefits.
That's true.
And that's this song. So I owe Gaylord, and I make a mention to that, his character Ghost. And I owe him for the song, and have, I hope, repaid him somewhat by writing more songs that pop off of his ideas. He's a wonderful poet. So this is When You're Dead. Plus, I think it's my favorite finger-picking part I've ever written myself.
Excellent fingerstyle work on this album. This is Nathan Bell. The name of this track, When You're Dead.
When you're dead, you can sit at any table when you're dead. You can't ignore the warning labels and all the things you were afraid to do. You can do them now instead. 'Cause nothing else can kill you when you're dead. When you're dead, you don't have to wear a tie when you're dead. You can't say, buddy, if I die young and mean when you were really young and full of dread. There's nothing much can scare you when you're dead. When you're alive, phone rings all the time, bad news on the line. You can never save a dime, and every day you punch the clock from 9 to 5. 'Cause it takes a lot of work to be alive. When you're dead, you can two-step anywhere when you're dead. You still have to cut your hair and everything you wish you'd never done and never said. Can't be taken back when you're dead. When you're dead, your fame will be eternal when you're dead. You'll find that fact infernal, and you'll never get the thought out of your head. They all like you better when you're dead. When you're alive, phone rings all the time, bad news on the line. You can never save a dime, and every day punch the clock from 9 to 5. It takes a lot of work to be alive. It takes a lot of work to be alive.
When You're Dead, brand new music, Nathan Bell. The name of the new album, Red, White, and American Blues. That's some hot harp playing there, Nathan.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, I noticed you sort of shared the harp work on here with Reverend Crow.
Yeah, Reverend Crow, the legendary Reverend Crow. Actually, the Rev and I, we share a domicile as well.
Very cool. You know, we talked a little bit about this next track we've got queued up, prior to the show, and neither one of us know how to pronounce it correctly. It's Zenzut's Samadhi, or
It's Zen Suits Samadhi Blues. That's the best I can come up
Zenzut's
with.
Samadhi Blues.
That's the best I can do.
You had mentioned this has some Japanese connotation to it. Why don't you give the listening audience a little heads up on this track?
Well, I'll butcher the actual definition of it because it has a little bit of fluidity to it. But a lot of times it's spoken about in terms of sword arts and fighting arts. It's also kind of a way of talking about centering oneself, and especially Zen Buddhism and those things is a hard look at reality. Eastern Buddhism and Western Buddhism have often not shared this. Western Buddhism is often about coming to accepting yourself and all your flaws, but Eastern Buddhism is about looking hard at those things you see as flaws and improving them. And although I'm not a remotely religious man, I did find some interest in Zen Buddhism in my 20s, and just in terms of the meditation practice, which I continue relatively haphazardly to this day. So this is this song lyrically just sort of states the bleeding obvious, to quote somebody somewhere.
Let's listen to that track right now off the brand new album, Red, White, and American Blues. This is Nathan Bell, Zenzut's Samadhi Blues.
Screaming ever since for somebody. Make everything work out right. Man goes to the river, looks deep into the well, sees his own reflection, and he lies to himself that there's somebody. Make everything work out right. And all his fortune, all his fame, so hard to come by, then easily fades away. Ashes are carried on similar winds, and everything works out right. And everything works out right. Man dies a pauper, a man dies a prince,
Ashes kind of end up in the same place, don't they? Zen Zoots, Samadai Blues. What a great song, a great groove you got going with the acoustic guitar. I've got to ask, what are you miking the acoustics with? The clarity is just crystal clear.
I'm not sure. Brian stuck a couple of mics in front of it, and I suspect they were some form of Shure condenser. I know that we used an SM7 for the vocals, but not sure what's in front of those. At home, sometimes I use ribbons, but mostly I use a couple of Aventone mics, but I don't know what Brian used. Yeah, it is crystal clear. Everything in here was recorded. The drummer, Alvino, and I recorded all the basic tracks live, and I don't think there's anything on that record that's past the third take at the most. Most of them are one or twos.
And you'd mentioned Brian earlier. You recorded this at Skunkworks Studio. I love the name of that place out in California, West Coast Studio. Great job.
Just south of Santa Cruz.
If they want to order this, check your schedule or any of your other recordings, Nathan, where do they go?
Well, they can go to nathanbellmusic.com. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I have an Instagram account, Nathan Bell Music, that I keep for the moment, but based on Zuckerberg, I probably won't have it that much longer either. Yeah. So I'm mostly, you come to my website, you get emails from there. You can pick up stuff and find out where I tour. And then, it's I'm making a desperate attempt to stay moral in an immoral universe.
Do you have a schedule that's planned in the Texas? Anywhere in Texas in the near future?
Actually, I don't tour in the United States. I play a few shows occasionally when somebody asks me to come, if I can afford it, if it pays, or if it's for a cause that is worth doing. And I play like one or two shows around the Chattanooga area a year, but my touring is completely confined to Europe and the UK. That's literally a matter of quality of life and income. I can't make enough money to warrant it for the expense it has for my life, the way I like to live it. So unless somebody pops out of the woodwork to book me, and that has yet to happen, and work within those strictures, I'm probably not going to be anywhere near you anytime soon.
Nathan, that's so common among the U.S. Artists. Many of them have to go to Europe, especially the blues players, to make a living. That's a shame.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just there's a lot of driving, and there's an enormous amount of driving, and the money isn't terribly good in the United States for live music.
It's not.
So, it's a rough one.
If you're just tuning in, Nathan Bell's been our guest today on Songwriter Studio, playing tracks off of his brand new Red, White, and American Blues album. And we are running out of time. We've got enough time for one, possibly two tracks. We've got Monday queued up right now. Why don't you give the listening audience a little heads up on this track?
Well, I grew up playing and loving the Jimmy Reed and Merle Travis stuff. I've always been a big fan of the real funk scene, Slave, and all those people. And like I said, this is what you get if you get a white boy from Iowa playing music he loves from somewhere else.
There you go. Let's listen to that track right now. This is Nathan Bell, Monday.
Monday, Monday morning come too soon. Monday morning come too soon. Work your fingers to the bone till bones are all that's left of you. Used to work paycheck to paycheck, now the week's 2 days too long. Go to pay the bills on Wednesday, the money's already gone. Monday morning comes too soon. Work your fingers to the bone till bones are all that's left of you. Used to bring my money to my baby, keep a little for myself. Now I'm working for the man, and the man is somewhere else. Monday morning come too soon. Work your fingers to the bone till bones are all that's left of you. Work 'em now. paid my dues. That gives me the right to sing these working man blues. Monday, Monday morning comes too soon. Work your fingers to the bone till bones are all that's left of you. On Monday morning, get it, drummer.
Monday, brand new music, Nathan Bell. I think you were channeling Hendrix there.
Oh, that's the stuff on the electric guitar is Frank again. I'm playing a National steel guitar
I could
for
tell.
the rhythm.
I heard
so
the
I gotta
National.
I got to give Frank the love for that. He did a really nice job.
Frank, great job. I love the wah-wah. And brand new music. The name of the new album, Red, White, and American Blues. And this is Nathan Bell. Nathan, we've got just about out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on Songwriter Studio. If you like what you hear here and you missed the show, or you've got a buddy that wants to hear it, go to the KPFT.org archives, drop down, go to the 5 p.m. on Sunday Songwriter Studio. We'll be there for 2 weeks. There's also a podcast, and then check us out on YouTube. One more time, I'm going to ask the folks to pick up that phone and dial 713-526-5738. Please make sure that donation comes to Songwriter Studio. We've been on the air here at KPFT for 15 years, and we'd like to be here for another 15. And we'd like to thank Nathan for sharing his 1 hour with us here in Songwriter Studio. And the name of the new album is Red, White, and American Blues. Nathan, one more time, where do they go if they want to order this album or send you an email?
They can go to nathanbellmusic.com, and that's the easiest way to deal with it.
Thank you so much for being our guest on Songwriter Studio.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Stick around. We've got Irish Airs followed by the Bluegrass Depot. We're going to go out with To Each of Us. This is another track that you brought Patty Griffin in with this song. Why don't you give the listening audience a little heads up on this track?
Interestingly enough, there should be a beautiful video that we finished out for this, maybe close to when you aired the show and maybe a little later. And it's just Patty came along and made it twice as haunting as I thought it could be. It's really about, there's a note I made about it when I was being interviewed in England to say to be depressed is to know that you will never not be depressed. And to love someone who is depressed is to know that they will never not be depressed. And that's what the song's about.
Thanks again for joining us. Join us next week on Songwriter Studio. This is Tom Tranchilla along with Lloyd Daniel. We'll see you next week.
Hills of South Dakota, there's black ice on the highway. The mighty Mississippi, 50 feet above the flood stage. Down on the painted desert, in a broke down Chevrolet. When you're running out of water, with no help on the way. But you're all I ever wanted. You're all I ever wanted. You're all I ever wanted. So I breathe out and I breathe in, count every breath from 1 to 10. Turn around and count back down again. Home up on the mound with new locks on the door. There's a light on in the kitchen. No one lives there anymore. And I'm standing at the light, no keys for the locks, as you sail through the fog, headed straight into the rocks. But you're all I ever wanted. You're all I ever wanted. You're all I ever wanted. So I breathe out and I breathe in, count every breath from 1 to 10. Turn around and count back down again. 'Cause you're all I